What's up, guys? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Seatman. Coming up on today's show, how the Vikings can trade up and draft Caleb Williams. Blockbuster move for Minnesota. I think this is something that Kwesi Adofo-Mensah could have up his sleeves. And, we heard the report that he was willing to offer 3 first-rounders to trade up and get Anthony Richardson. He may be aggressive this year as well. And at the later half of the video, I'm going to give you guys my top 5 guys that I think are most likely to be drafted to the Minnesota Vikings at 11th overall if they do plan on staying there. But I want to start off with this. There's a lot of noise about the Vikings being the worst team in the division for the next 5 years, with the Packers a young and up-and-coming team, Lions in the NFC Championship, Bears with 2 top 10 picks and a young and up-and-coming roster. I just want to show off the purple pride to start off today's video. I want the comments section flooded with skulls. I want it looking like US Bank Stadium game day, blowing the gal horn. So if you guys are a diehard Vikings fan, show your support, show off your purple pride, and give me a skull down in the comments section. But I do think if we're talking about trading up to the number 1 pick, let's just look back at last year, because we do have some stuff to go off of. So the Bears obviously had the number 1 overall pick last season, and the Carolina Panthers, they wanted Bryce Young, and this was the haul they sent to Chicago to go get him. The Bears received the Panthers 2023 first-round pick and their second, which were picks 9 and 61. They also got their 2024 first-round pick and a 2025 second-round pick, plus DJ Moore in that trade. I don't think the Vikings have a player that they could kind of attach to a trade to Chicago that they would be willing to take in, but the trade idea that I cooked up for the Vikings, it would just be a draft capital haul. I think that's the only way the Vikings can pull this off, is if you completely clear house and you completely send almost pretty much every draft pick you have over the next couple of years to get Caleb Williams. But this is what the trade I cooked up. It would be the Vikings sending the 11th and 42nd overall pick, plus you would have to send your 1st, 2nd, and 4th of next season, and then kind of just some more icing on the cake to entice the Bears. I did attach a 3rd-round pick to get Caleb Williams. But, guys, you're going to have to give a haul to give up this guy. I think he is the best quarterback prospect, and you guys have heard it since Andrew Luck. And even since his freshman year at Oklahoma, when he only played 6 games, he tore it up, man. He had 21 touchdowns, 4 interceptions in his 6 games at OU. His next season at USC with Lincoln Riley, he completely took over college football. The completion percentage up there as well, 4,500 yards, 42 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions that season. And then this past year, I thought he was pretty freaking fantastic as well. I'm not a good USC football team. Their offensive line was shaky throughout the year, didn't really have any true elite weapons, but he still had 30 touchdowns and 5 picks, over 3,600 yards, and that completion percentage damn near at 70%. We all know his ability inside, outside of the pocket, has an absolute cannon of an arm. Ball looks like it's coming off a line every single time he throws the football. And I do think if he would be paired up in Minnesota with this support system that the Vikings are willing to offer him, I'm willing to say this right now. If the Vikings would somehow pull off this deal, they would no doubt have one of the best offenses in the National Football League next season. No matter who the rookie quarterback is that the Vikings do bring in, it has to be one of the more favorable landing spots for these guys when they're looking at possibly, where they could get drafted. I mean, if you're J.J. McCarthy, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Caleb Williams, whoever he may be, and you're looking at a team you want to go to, you're telling me the Vikings aren't at the top of their list? Throw into the best weapon in the NFL. Young and up-and-coming receiver in Addison, who's coming off 10 touchdowns in his rookie year. T.J. Hawkinson, no doubt top 5 tight end. 2 bookend tackles in Darisaw and Brian O'Neill. You also got a young offensive head coach in Kevin O'Connell. No matter who the quarterback is, man, the Vikings are going to be offer them, a very easy support system, very easy transition to the NFL game. But going back to the trade idea that I cooked up, would you do this? This is the question. Would you accept this deal? A for accept, D for decline. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. It's a lot to give up for Caleb Williams. But again, you are getting Caleb Williams. Let me know your thoughts. A for accept, D for decline. So one of the biggest reasons why I do want the Vikings to do this deal is I feel like the Vikings are in one of the worst spots in the National Football League right now. They are stuck in purgatory where they are not good enough to compete for a Super Bowl, but they also aren't bad enough to draft one of these top quarterbacks. And I honestly do think that is the worst spot to be in the NFL. And I think the Vikings, if you want to get out of it, you are going to kind of have consolidate a bunch of assets, kind of push all your kind of poker chips to the center of the table. And I do think the Vikings could get out of this purgatory. Because let's just say, you swing for the fences on Caleb Williams and he doesn't work out. Well, guess what? You're probably going to be pretty freaking bad for the next couple of years, and you're going to have a chance again in the future to draft a quarterback. But also, what if he ends up working out? What if the Vikings have a Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes in Caleb Williams? I mean, that would just be fantastic to get out of this purgatory, get a true franchise quarterback on a rookie deal. It would be awesome. But the one thing that I am most skeptical about, even if the Vikings have the best trade offer for the Chicago Bears, do you think the Bears would risk sending Caleb Williams within the division? I really doubt that. I don't know if Ryan Poles wouldn't want to play him 2 times a year. Even though the fan base, it kind of seems like Chicago and all the fans want to keep Justin Fields. But if they would have to see Williams in the division, throwing to Jefferson 2 times a year for the next 10 years, I just don't know if they would do it. And I also do want to get you guys this quote from Kirk Cousins, because I know a lot about the quarterback and, how he will be returning this next season. He was actually talking to the press a couple days ago, and I wanted to share this with you guys on what Kirk had to say kind of about his timeline on returning. He said, "My expectation is that I'll be able to practice during OTAs as normal," good sign, "but the question will be, is it worth it?" And so you have to weigh that a little bit, but my goal would be that I'm saying I can go and you guys are going to have to stop me because I feel that good. He carried on to say, if I'm not allowed into the full team drills, I know I can do basically a full speed practice on the field next to it is pretty much my goal. But 7-on-7, there's nobody around you. It's a safe drill. So at minimum, I would think that's a drill that a pocket passing quarterback would be very doable. Carried on to say this as well. And that's kind of the beauty of the Achilles injury, is that you can get back and you can get going again in a way that isn't as crippling as if it was a back injury or something that's a little more critical, like your shoulder or elbow. So it sounds like Kirk will be ready to go, which is a good sign if the Vikings do want to bring him back. So kind of wanted to give you guys an update on Kirk Cousins right there before we dive into, coming up here in a second, my top 5 draft targets, top 5 players that are most likely to be drafted by Minnesota at number 11th overall. We'll be getting into that in a second, but I do want to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor of Vikings Now, and that is GameTime, the best ticket purchasing app out there. And if you guys use code VikingsChat on your first purchase, you guys will get $20 off, whether it's a Minnesota Wild game, Minnesota Timberwolves game, whatever it may be, and you guys are buying a ticket to it, make sure you guys do use GameTime. And if you guys are planning on going to the big game, whether it's the Kansas City Chiefs, Niners, Lions, Ravens playing in this, if you guys are planning on going to the big game and you guys use code Vegas100, where the big game is located, whether you're a first-time user or long-time user, you guys will get $100 off. $100 off may not seem like a lot for a game that could go for thousands and thousands of dollars, but if you guys do have game time already and are planning on going to the big game, make sure you guys use that code Vegas100, and they will hook you up with $100 off. But Game Time, shout out to them, the #1 ticket purchasing app out there. It's the best seats, lowest price guaranteed. Get hooked up with Game Time today and use those 2 promo codes, Vikings Chat or Vegas100, and save yourself some money. But let's talk about the Vikings draft targets that I think are most likely to head to Minnesota. #1 for me, I think if I had to pick it, put my money on it in Vegas right now, who is going to be the Vikings' first-round pick? I think it's going to be Nate Wiggins, the cornerback out of Clemson. And I am a big-time fan of Nate Wiggins, mainly because he is a big corner. He gives me shades of Xavier Rhodes. He's going to need to fill out his frame a little more, add a little more muscle mass to his play or to his frame. But overall, man, if you go turn on the tape with this kid, he is a strong physical cornerback, not afraid to get up in the face of receivers. The only negatives on him is he bites on double moves all the freaking time. And, that could be a pro or a con. That means he's playing that kind of Trayvon Diggs type of corner where he will have the takeaways and he will have the interceptions, but he also could get beat over the top. It's kind of the scouting report on him, but I think it's incredibly likely that he could be the pick at number 11. Sticking in the secondary, Kool-Aid McKinstry. We'll say this, Kool-Aid McKinstry, coolest name that I've ever seen out of a draft prospect. The dude's name is literally Kool-Aid, which is why I'm a big fan of him. But he reminds me a lot of Brian Branch. I've heard the comparison to him, and every single time I turn on the Alabama tape or I watch Alabama play football, he jumps off the screen. I think that's the #1 thing. As I'm watching kind of defensive players, when I'm kind of going through this process, if I'm just watching a random Alabama football game, I want to see you jump off the screen. Kool-Aid did that. He flies around the football football field. He's great in the run game, and he has versatility, which we know Brian Flores likes in his defense. He could be another option at number 11, but it could also be his teammate, Dallas Turner, the edge out of Alabama. Listen, Dallas Turner, there is a big three of edge rushers that I think the Vikings to take in Turner, Latu, and Jared Verse out of Florida State. But if I had to pick one, it would 100% be Dallas Turner. Same reason for Kool-Aid McKinstry. Any single time I watched Bama play this year, this dude jumped off the screen for me. 6'4", 242 pounds, from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Had 10 sacks this past season. Only thing I didn't love about Dallas Turner, right after they lost to Michigan, he literally declared for the NFL draft literally 30 seconds after the fact. So don't love that in terms of just like, overall competitive nature in him. But he's an absolute dog, 5-star coming out of high school, blue chip prospect. If you would somehow pair him up with Daniil Hunter, sign me up. Sign me up. But name I love. A name I absolutely love, and I think you guys will too. An offensive guard, Troy Fontenot, out of Washington. Washington won the award for the best offensive line in the country this last season, and a big reason was this guy right here. PFF graded him out at a 74.6 overall grade this past season. Pretty solid, but 6'4", bigger interior offensive lineman from Henderson, Nevada, and I do think the Vikings, they're going to need to address that interior offensive line. Dalton Reisner, he wants to come back, but what type of contract? Could another team kind of swoop in and steal him from the Vikings? We were talking about Ed Ingram earlier, kind of the inconsistencies with him. Take another chance, another blue chip guy, take him in the first round. Troy Fontenot, I would be thrilled if the Vikings took him, at number 11. I do think there is a good chance. But number 5 for me, if the Vikings are going to take a quarterback at 11, if they are standing in that spot and J.J. McCarthy is on the board, do not be shocked if they do decide to take him. Because I think if you're looking at McCarthy and you just think about his overall game, he needs a support system around him. We already talked about the Vikings support system earlier, and I do think JJ is a guy. If you just have, kind of a younger and athletic Kirk Cousins, frankly, like an extremely accurate quarterback. We see it in his short yard passing stats right now, 119 out of 150. That is absolutely ridiculous. And I saw this stat. For all the people that say JJ McCarthy can't win it on the big time third downs, I saw a stat that came out last night on 3rd down and 7+. So 3rd and 7+. J.J. McCarthy is actually one of the best quarterbacks in the entire country. He is the number 1 first down percentage by a quarterback on 3rd down and 7+. Also, J.J., number 2 in yards per attempt on 3rd down and 7+. Because all this talk around J.J. McCarthy, he is not able to push the ball downfield. He did not have any deep passing attack at Michigan, and I get it. But also, I think a lot of that was he knew what this Michigan football team was. They were a downhill, run-first running game and our offense, and they weren't really able to, push the ball downfield because I wasn't really in love with the receivers last year at Michigan. And I do think a lot of people, and I'll love this the most about drafting J.J. McCarthy. If the Vikings took him at 11th overall, you will go in the Instagram comments on that page. Everybody would be freaking out. All the Instagram commenters be saying, what a bad pick. This dude threw for only 120 or so yards in the national championship game. I would absolutely love that because the Instagram comments have never been right ever in my life. So I think JJ is incredibly likely at number 11th overall. But you guys let me know. I gave you guys my 5 names that I think the Vikings could take. Who do you guys think they would take? Who would the Vikings draft in the first round? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. And as always, guys, make sure you guys are subscribed here to the channel. We'll keep you posted with the latest round of Vikes. No matter what it is, draft content, free agency content, we got you guys covered. Help us reach 23,000 subs. Hit that sub button. See you guys next time. Skol Vikes.